Straight Shift with the Car Chick, the podcast that's all about cars, buying, selling, fixing, and driving, and sometimes pretty fast if you're the Car Chick. Now, here's he is.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Straight Shift, the podcast that tells the unfiltered truth about cars, driving, and all the automotive nonsense we deal with along the way. Right now, I am deep in the planning phase for a bucket list trip this fall to the UK with my husband and my 80-year-old mother. This is something my mom and I have been wanting to do together for a few decades now. So she turned 80 this year. We're like, this is the year we're going to do it. And for me, it's going to hit 3 bucket list items in one trip. A transatlantic on the Queen Mary 2, seeing Stonehenge, and driving on the wrong side of the road. That's right. I will be renting a car across the pond and driving in a right-hand drive car on the, quote, wrong side of the road for the first time in my life. And I'm super excited about it, not just to drive on the other side of the road and see if I can do it without wrecking, but I'm planning to rent a brand of car that I can't get here in the U.S. So I'm really hoping for something like a Peugeot, just something that you can't get in the U.S. And I can get a manual transmission because in Europe, they rent cars with proper transmission. So I'm really happy about that. So stay tuned. I will be covering that experience on this podcast after the trip. We'll get back in early October, so probably one of the October podcasts. And I'm going to do a video blog for my YouTube channel, Car Chick TV. Now, this rental is going to be a little more challenging than usual because not only is it a different country, but I have some very specific requirements other than being a car I can't get here and having a manual transmission. But because of my mother's mobility issues, she can't get in and out of really low cars or really high cars. We have to have one that's just right that she can easily get in and out of, and also have enough room in the back to carry her mobility scooter, which we are taking with us. So I can't just get a little small, sporty, fun car to zip around the English countryside. So in figuring all of this out, I realized I probably needed to turn to an expert car renter to get some advice, because it's been years since I've rented cars on a regular basis, and I've certainly never done it overseas. Plus, there are some secrets, there are scams out there, and there are some strategies that you've got to use to be a smart car renter. So I reached out to a longtime client of mine who has mastered the rental car game over the past 20-odd years, and he is here to share that hard-earned wisdom and tell us the do's, don'ts, and what the F's of renting cars. So let's get into it. I want to welcome Doug Hofer, a good client of mine, frequent traveler, rental car ninja. Doug, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
How is it that you have become this rental car ninja? You travel for work. How many cars have you probably rented in your life?
I'd say ballpark probably 500 or 600.
500 or 600? Oh my gosh. Like I'm doing math in my head. Right. That's like around 25 cars a year?
Roughly. Yeah, that's
wow.
Probably between 25 and 30.
Wow. Has that all been in the U.S. or have you rented in other countries too?
No, I've rented in a few other countries.
Oh, this will be fun. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, why don't we just kind of start with the basics before we get into what I'm sure are going to be some fairly hilarious and terrifying stories. But when is the best time to rent a car? We talk a lot about the best time to buy a car, but there's like good times to rent, days of the week, picking it up. What's your advice there?
Definitely the best time to rent a car is first thing Monday morning, or even Monday afternoon is okay. Tuesday and Wednesday can be a little dicey. The business travelers like myself are the ones taking all the cars those days.
Not going to get your pick of the litter if you go on a Wednesday.
No,
damn.
You're not.
I'm going to be renting one on a Wednesday night. Dang it.
Well, I will say the Wednesday night could benefit you because they run out of cars, typically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. Wednesday night, if you reserve a small, or like you were saying, a mid-sized car that's good for your mother, you might get something a little nicer because that's all they have.
Oh, I don't mind a free upgrade. I'm totally up for a free upgrade. So
fair enough. Thursday afternoon and Friday and over the weekend is typically not a problem to get a car. All the business travelers start returning the cars around Thursday, around lunch, and they kind of sit there until Monday morning.
And a lot of us think about renting cars for personal travel, for vacations, and we don't realize just how much of the rental car business are the corporate business travelers, like I used to be when I rented cars all the time. So it makes sense. Now, I know that, when you and I've talked in the past, because we've been joking about your rental car ninja skills for several years now, you mentioned renting from the airport location. Now, is that always true, or is that just convenience because you're flying into the airport?
It's mostly convenience. I have rented for some of the local trips that I take. I rent from a local location,
like an Enterprise or
like mostly. I typically do all my renting with National Rent-A-Car. I've been with them for almost 30 years. I use Hertz a little bit, but I've had a couple bad experiences with Hertz and Enterprise, Alamo, National. They're all the same parent company. So if you're renting from Enterprise, you're kind of renting from any one of those three.
Do the airport locations have a better selection of cars than the local places?
I would say the airport locations have the better cars, the newer cars with the lower mileage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm going to be renting out of the airport in Southampton in England. So I think it's going to be smaller, but I was not going to rent the car out of Heathrow and have the first time driving on the opposite side of the road in a right-hand drive car, a brand I've never driven, be getting out of Heathrow, which is, trying to get out of JFK or O'Hare after, an 8-hour red-eye flight. So being jet lagged, I just didn't think that was the safest choice. So
I like your decision.
We're going to take a car service from Heathrow to Southampton and then take a nap, and then I'll go pick up the rental car later in the afternoon at the Southampton airport. So hopefully I'll have some good choices there. But you talked about you have kind of a loyalty to National Rental Car. So what is it about that? And we're not really plugging any particular companies here, and certainly none of them are paying me or giving me any benefits whatsoever. Hint, hint. But I'm just curious as to what you like about National. I certainly have my favorite. What is it about National that you like?
As I've told you, I've rented from Hertz as well, but Hertz, you reserve, quote, almost a specific car. And with National, I belong to the executive, actually I'm executive elite. There's an Emerald aisle and there's an executive area, and you get to choose the car you want, which gives you, with all the car rentals I've had, I've driven so many different cars, and I can put in my memory banks which ones I really don't like and which ones I do.
So the program you're in, and it's not just National doing this, it's because you're a part of this loyalty club and you have reached their super godlike status with them.
Yes.
So the rest of us might not get these benefits.
No, but they have, if you join the National Club, and I believe most credit cards, a lot of the travel credit cards offer it. And I think the fee is only $50. Don't quote me on that, but basically you walk outside and it's an Emerald aisle and you can choose any car in the aisle. You're not limited to a sedan or an SUV. You can choose that.
Oh, so you're not even limited to the class of car. It's pretty much anything in this row, grab the keys, enjoy.
Correct.
Okay. That's nice because there's a huge price difference normally between renting a small sedan and renting a big honking SUV.
Correct.
That's really nice. One of the things that I've done in the past is, because I've never really had that level of luxury with rental cars before, but when I check in, I say, so what have you got? What is it you're trying to give me? And then I negotiate with them from there because I will reject cars. I'm like, nope, that's not what that. Or they'll tell me oh, you can have this, this, or this. And at least I get a choice sometimes of what it is. It's okay, yeah, I'll take the Mazda. Oh my God, no, I do not want the Chevy Malibu,
Understood.
So I kind of get a little picky.
Another benefit of joining one of the clubs, they all have it. You don't stand in the line. You go straight to the car, straight to the garage. Or even if I rent from a local enterprise, everything's already in their system on file. I just show up and we go outside. That's it.
Nice. Now, has technology changed? Because I know with so many other things in our lives, we can just kind of show up and there's a kiosk. And, when I've rented U-Haul trucks, you just show up and you do everything on the app and there's a lock box and you do some things and you never actually speak to a human. Are the rental car companies doing that now?
Not quite yet, but the shift is coming. You still have to stand in, quote, a line to get out of the rental car area in your car, obviously. Atlanta Airport is by far the worst. That can take longer than the flight from Charlotte to get out of the rental car area.
Dallas-Fort Worth is not any better.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, DFW is not any better. That's one of the frustrating parts. I know that Hertz is in the last couple months, starting to do some AI stuff with checkout of rental cars. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, because there's an AI computer or something scanning the car for every little scuff and every little dent. That's something new. Something new.
Wow. Okay, so we'll come back to that a little bit later.
That's fine.
That's very interesting. My favorite rental car company is a company called Sixt, Sixt, and that's one that not a lot of people in the U.S. have necessarily heard of. They've expanded a lot over the last decade, but they're a very old company. They're almost 100 years old or something crazy like that. It started in Germany. And what I love about them is that you can rent real cars. You can rent BMWs. You can rent Mercedes. You're not just getting the normal junker rentals that we're so used to. And, that's enough for me to have a loyalty to that company because I can have a much nicer rental car. But they kind of solidified my loyalty to them. I was making a trip out to Hollywood for some business, and I did just rent with them the cheapest little thing that I could get. I think I reserved like a Hyundai Accent or something like that. And
that's a small car.
It was a small car, but it was just me and one other person. And, we just had overnight bags. It wasn't too bad. So I was more concerned about, okay, I know I can park that in LA, but
you can.
When I got there and I was checking in and chatting with the guy, he actually recognized me and my brand from the podcast and some television work that I had. And he said, wait a minute, wait, you're the car chick. Oh, you can't drive a Hyundai in Hollywood. And so he upgraded me to a Mercedes.
Oh, okay, that
like,
worked
oh
out
my
well.
God, thank you. So yeah, that one experience pretty much solidified my loyalty to that rental car company for life. So I'm looking forward to renting with them in the UK. So I have scoped out
They're very big. They are very big overseas.
Yeah, there's a little small Peugeot SUV that I'm really hoping that I can get one of those because it's just the right size. It's a manual transmission, and it's a great car. So keeping my fingers crossed. Let's talk for a minute about, you had mentioned some of the most terrible cars, and you like being able to pick the exact car because you have had some less than optimal, shall we say, experiences. What is seriously like the worst thing you've ever had as a rental car?
That would be last spring in Tulum, Mexico. I reserved the car. There is no National, Alamo, or Enterprise at Tulum. Tulum is it's the latest fad in Mexico, south of Cancun. They got a brand new airport. It's kind of just getting up and running, so to speak. I mean, the whole area of Tulum is getting up and running. And I made a reservation to Hertz, and we got off the plane. We weren't the only plane to land. No, they didn't have any, whatever Hertz is called, President's Circle. There was no special line. And I got down there, and I was with my wife, and we stood in the line for a few minutes, and it was not moving. There was only one or two people, checking at the counter, doing the work. And I looked over at this company next to him called Eurocar, Europar. I've seen it before. Anyway, I walked in there, and I just said, "Do you have any cars?" Which that's not normally my style, right? And he said, "Yeah." And it ended up costing about the same thing, but the car we got, wow. It was a brand I'd never heard of because this is in Tulum, Mexico. It was something, I think it came from Asia somewhere. The car had 116,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It was a 4-door sedan, and the car was in such rough shape. I didn't take any pictures. I didn't even write anything down. There were stains all over the inside of the car. I mean, it was bad, but we made the best of it. But it did work out because we did quite a few things in downtown Tulum, which is not the nicest area. So we had no problems parking that car because it blended right in with the environment.
Sometimes having that, that local camouflage vehicle is not necessarily a bad thing. Right. You probably wouldn't want to be driving a BMW or Mercedes around some of those places.
Definitely not Tulum. No. That'd be my worst experience. So
did it at least have air conditioning? Just recent.
It did have air conditioning, but it didn't work very well. Oh. I mean, it worked, but not spectacular. So it was bad.
Nice. Well, what was the best thing? What's the coolest car you've ever been able to rent? Or what do you like the best?
I would have to say we went to South Beach one time. It's been quite a while ago. Well, when I tell you the car, you'll understand what I mean. I went to South Beach, played some golf, and we got a Cadillac Sedan DeVille the big white
Ooh.
sedan DeVille, but it had the V8 North Star engine in it, which, yeah, that I love that car. I love that engine. And we ended up going to Key West in it, and so we were in the car a lot. Obviously, it was good. That was probably the best rental we've ever had. And no, I did not reserve a Cadillac. I reserved like a full size.
Gotcha.
And back then, this is quite a while ago. They didn't have executive elite. That didn't exist. So that was probably the best upgrade.
They gave you something nice, so it was comfortable because Cadillacs are extremely comfortable.
It was,
and it had the umph. Did you guys get any speeding tickets going down to Key West?
Nope, I did not.
Wow. Well, probably my favorite was either that Mercedes, that I got upgraded to, because it's way cooler to drive around Beverly Hills and West Hollywood in a Mercedes, even a low-level Mercedes. It wasn't a fancy one; it was a C-Class, but still better than driving around Beverly Hills in a Hyundai Accent. Sure. But honestly, one of my favorite rental cars, and it's just more for the ridiculous fun factor. I was traveling out to San Diego for business. I got a PT Cruiser. This was a long time ago. This was, probably 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, they're cute, not a quality car in any way, shape, or form, but I had more fun driving that stupid thing.
They're cool to drive.
It was very bouncy. And so as I was like flying full speed around the corners and over, we were just like, whee! It was kind of like a little roller coaster car.
Yes.
And it was just hilarious. That's one of the most fun experiences I've had in a rental car, because I did not care if I beat it up. It was a PT Cruiser.
I understand.
I've
rented a few of those.
It was
many years ago, but I've rented a few. They're a nice little ride. Let's put it that way.
I did have a really nice last few times we've been to Alaska, and when we get to Skagway, we always rent a car and drive into the Canadian Yukon and stuff like that. And it's, there's one rental car agency in Skagway, Alaska, and it's, run out of a little small trailer. These two ladies own it. It's a Avis franchise. But so you get a Toyota 4Runner, and I actually 3 years apart got the exact same 4Runner both times. Granted, they probably only have 2 or 3 of them, but
of course you did.
But, you get a lunch, for everybody, and you get this little tour thing. So it's just more than just renting a car. You're kind of renting the little experience of driving around there. And it was fantastic. So had a lot of good experiences driving around the Canadian Yukon and in a nice Toyota 4Runner. So those were good. One of the challenges that we have with renting cars, and something that I'm trying to figure out for this England trip, is insurance. They always try to sell you on their insurance. Mm-hmm. And when I rent here in the U.S., I usually don't take it because I have confirmed with my rental agency and I'm with State Farm. So I feel comfortable that I'm covered when I rent locally. They have informed me that there is no coverage whatsoever outside the United States. And so I'm going to have to figure out what to do in England. But tell me about your thoughts about that and what your experience has been with rental car insurance.
I agree with you. Domestically, you don't really need it. And there's also a few 3 or 4 credit cards out there, travel credit cards, that are not secondary insurance. They are the primary insurance if you use that credit card to pay for the rental. They're the higher end cards, but they're the primary. So basically, if you total the car, as long as you weren't being stupid or doing something dumb, they would cover it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Doing something dumb.
Internationally is a whole different ballgame. It was funny when we went, not funny, but I was kind of surprised in Tulum when we rented that POS. You have to take their liability. It is not a choice. And it was built into the rate. So you cannot decline. You can't do that in Mexico. You have to rent the car with the Mexican liability.
But that was the liability part, not collision on that thing. I would hope you wouldn't have that collision on that thing.
I didn't take the collision on that car, no. Most of the international cars I've rented, including Europe, I have declined the insurance. I've kind of rolled the dice, but it's expensive, the insurance. It really is.
I'll have to see what the insurance will be like, because I'm not sure I'm willing to roll the dice.
No, if you're
I've never driven on the other side of the road before.
No, I understand. I agree with you. If you're only renting the car for 1 or 2 days, I would take the insurance. I would.
I probably will, just to be on the safe side. I rented in places like Aruba, and I didn't worry about it there because I know how to drive in Aruba, but this will be a new experience.
Driving on the other side of the road is not that big a deal. I was just in the Cayman Islands about 2 weeks ago. The roundabouts are a little tricky. That I'll just give you a little
Well,
warning.
people here can't drive on the roundabouts that we have, at least
That
in
is
Charlotte.
true.
I love
That is
roundabouts.
true. Oh, I love roundabouts too, but unfortunately, like you just said, most people don't know how to use them properly. And when you're going the opposite direction and you're sitting on the wrong side of the car, the roundabout is a little bit of a different experience.
This is true. Now, I can't remember in the Caymans. The Caymans is purely British, right? It's right-hand drive,
Correct.
opposite side of the road. Sometimes
Correct.
in the Caribbean, and my father used to love this because he loved renting cars, and I learned all my driving from him. But I do remember in some places in the Caribbean, when I was a kid, we'd rent a car, and it was British roads,
Okay.
but American cars. So you're driving on the wrong side of the road, but the steering wheel is still on the left. So trying to make those turns when you're not next to the lane, some of the turns are like really weird and wide, and you're like, where's the road? Where's the road? So at least I don't have to do that. Yeah. But I do plan to train for it, because anytime I've raced a new racetrack, I've trained the track by going on YouTube and finding YouTube videos of other racers who have similar cars. And I just watch those videos over and over again to learn the track. And I think I'm going to do the same thing and watch some driver point of view videos from the UK to kind of get used to what it looks like and feels like to drive on the wrong side of the road. So hopefully that will help.
That should help. That should help.
I really hope. Now, have you ever been dinged for damaging a rental car, whether you actually did or not?
A couple times, yes.
So what happened there, and what can you do to avoid that?
Oh, I can give you a lot of details for that. I was lazy the two times I got dinged. One was a windshield. It was only $150 or $200. It was a big star in the windshield, and I missed it when I looked. And unfortunately, these rental car companies, where they park their cars, is not the most well lit area.
It's not.
No, they do that on purpose, but that's another story. And the other time, I think there was a scuff on the bumper that I missed, and it was a couple $100. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world. I haven't missed anything dramatic. My best advice is, if you rent any car, walk around it very thoroughly, especially the windshield and the roof. Get on, open the door, stand on the whatever you call it.
You don't think about looking at the roof.
No, you got to look at the roof. That's the most expensive part of the car to repair. And
especially now, if they've got those AI things that are going to be scanning the cars, when you returned it before, you were kind of at the mercy of whatever person checked you in. And I've never had one of them look at the roof of the car. But an AI is going to look at the roof of the car.
And no, they're doing it more now than the last couple of years. I've noticed they're standing on the door well, or whatever you call that, door seal, and looking at the roof. Because I once picked up, I didn't rent this car, but I got in a car, and when I climbed to look at the roof, the whole roof had been scratched. Somebody went into a garage, rubbed the garage, and the whole roof was scratched. And I did not take that car. I wouldn't have looked. I wouldn't have looked. I could have been held responsible for that. And take photos. I recommend taking photos of it. And if there's damage in the interior, definitely take a picture as well, like a cigarette burn or something like that.
And it probably wouldn't hurt to even take a good walk around video too, and then take individual pictures of any specific thing you find, just to cover your rear end on that.
Yes.
You don't want to pay for damage that you caused, but you really don't want to pay for damage that the person before you, however many times, caused.
Agree.
That is excellent advice there. Now, Doug, have you ever rented an electric vehicle?
Yes, I have. One time, actually in Kansas City, I showed up on a late Tuesday morning doing something I said not to do. And the only available car was an electric vehicle. Fortunately, I was staying pretty close to the airport, only about, maybe 50 miles total. So I ended up taking it. Worked out okay.
Did you have to find a place to recharge at all? I know that can be stressful.
No, I did not.
Nice.
It was only a one night rental.
So you didn't have to worry about range anxiety.
Nope.
You didn't have to figure out how to plug it in and refill it with electrons.
No, I did not.
And they didn't require you to refill the electrons before bringing it back, like you have to put gas in a gas car before you bring it back.
No, that was not a requirement of renting it.
Okay. So there's an advantage, but I know that I've had some clients rent electric vehicles, again, not by choice, but because that was all that was left. I think they were in Florida and they had no idea how to drive one. The rental agency was like, oh, don't worry about it. There's charging stations everywhere. Yeah, they had trouble finding charging stations, or if they found one, they weren't working, or they were full. They said it actually really put so much stress on their vacation because they were just constantly worrying about, how do I fill this thing up with electricity? instead of just being able
I
to go to the gas station. Did you have any problems actually driving the car? Because I know you guys do not own an electric vehicle.
It was different, and the biggest difference, not driving itself, but there's no brake on it. This was a Tesla, little sedan, and there is no brake on the car, which is very different because you pick your foot up off the gas or the accelerator, whatever Tesla calls it, and the car slows down. But it's different.
But there's no actual brake. Yeah.
There is no actual brake. No, there is not.
Yeah, I like my 3 pedals. Thank you very much. I even freak out when there's not a clutch. I will not be renting an electric car like ever if I can help it. I would rather just ride in a robo-taxi or something like that than have to deal with an electric vehicle. Thanks so much for being here and sharing your wisdom, Doug. Everyone, I hope you found this useful. What I got out of this was you don't necessarily need the insurance they try to sell you at their ridiculous rates from the rental car company, but check with your insurance agency first to be sure what coverages you do and do not have, especially if it's international. Don't rent from sketchy rental car companies in Tulum, Mexico. That's one case where it's probably worth standing in the Hertz line to get a car that is not a piece of junk, although blending in can be useful. And definitely,
it made it. The car made it.
The car made it. You guys made it. You blended in. And be sure you do an extraordinarily thorough walk around of the car before you sign that rental agreement. If you want to upgrade your own personal ride and not sure how to do that, you can check out my online car buying course at carbuyingcourse.com, or go to my website, thecarchick.com, and check out all of my full service packages where I can do all the buying for you like I have for Doug and his wife, Leanne, over the years. Thanks, everyone. Drive safely out there. We're out of here.